Thank you. Renee, Kurt, Julia, Joe. Didn't get to hear Joe. I keep pushing. Go make a difference. We can make a difference. And we know that by coming to unity. We have the power within us, don't we, to make that difference in the world. So the past 3 weeks, we've been working with the 4 agreements. And the 4 agreements are actually guidelines that if we incorporate them, if we live them in our life, we will make a difference. We will be a difference. So what was the first agreement? Be impeccable with your word. What was the second one? Don't take anything personally. And last week was don't make assumptions, Beth. we just had a joke. So today's talk is the 4th agreement. And it's always do your best. And our best changes from moment to moment. It varies depending on my health, my energy, if I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling sick, if I'm relaxed, if I'm stressed. My best on a not so good day is not the same on a best on a great day, right? And we know that. We've been there. Always doing our best is not about being a perfectionist. It's doing the best I can do in that moment. Do you hear that? You hear the difference there? And what this agreement does, it gives us immunity from judging ourselves. It gives us the power to live life without regrets, without guilt, without blaming others or ourselves, because we know we've done our best. So when we first start practicing these agreements, you are practicing, right? Uh-huh. As I try to be impeccable with my word, I frequently won't be. As I try not to take things personally, I frequently will. You know, that's the one I have to work with. And as I try not to make assumptions, I frequently find my mind continually to make assumptions. So it's like learning how to walk, or learning how to ride a bike, or learning how to play a sport, or learn a new language. When we first start out, our best is going to continue to get better. And it takes more than listening to these talks on Sunday, or reading the book on the 4 agreements, for us to break free of the limited beliefs and habits that we've been carrying with us since childhood. You know, these are things that we're used to. We make a difference when we do our best in the moment. No matter what life is handing out to us. No matter what challenge comes up for me. You know, whatever news I get, if I can just catch myself in that moment and say, okay, I can be the best I can be right now. I don't know, some of you may have heard of Mala, who is a 15-year-old schoolgirl in Pakistan. And she spoke out loudly for her right and the right of all girls to be educated. And this is in a culture where boys are prized. But she refused to be silenced. She said, I didn't want my future to be imprisoned in 4 walls, just cooking and giving birth. It's hard for us to know that girls are still treated that way in other parts of the country. When the Taliban took control of the valley that Mala lived in northern Pakistan, they became very aware of her. And they took actions to silence her. So on October 9th, 2012, the Taliban flagged down the school bus that she was riding home on. They boarded it, and they asked for her by name. And none of the kids said anything, but a few of them, you know, you can't help it, they glanced that way. So she was identified, and the gunman walked up to her and at point-blank range shot her in the head. She was airlifted in critical condition to the UK and wasn't expected to survive. But she made a miraculous recovery. She woke up 2 weeks later in a hospital in Birmingham. Now, she was unable to speak when she first woke up, but she did the best she could in that moment, and she could write, so she communicated by writing notes. 4 weeks later, her best changed. and she had movement to her face, and she could smile. A year later, her best had changed much, much more than the day she was shot. And on her 16th birthday, she gave a speech at the United Nations in New York. She urged the leaders to wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty, and terrorism. And her best keeps changing. She is now an international advocate for education, and she is the youngest nominee ever for the Nobel Peace Prize. She wrote a book on her experience. It's called I Am Mala, but that wasn't enough. She realized she wanted to reach the children of the world. So it's been released now in a child's edition so that young people around the world can know the importance of education, not just for themselves, but for their country. And she says, "The Taliban shot me to silence me. Instead, the whole world is listening to my message now. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world." She currently attends school in the UK, and her goal, to be the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So what did she show in us? That we can persevere through anything that life hands out to us. And we do it by just being the best we can be in that one moment. You know, I don't have to reach way out here and think, no, I've got to be as good as this person. I just have to be my best in the moment. So, what keeps you from being your best in the moment and making a difference? Just ponder on that. Think about that this week as you're going about your day. As you may have some negative thoughts coming in, as you may not be happy with the way your life is showing up, catch yourself and say, what's keeping me from me and my best? Because you know what it is? It's just one thing, isn't it? It's just me. It's just me saying, I only have to be my best in this moment. It's not such a big bite then. Moses stuttered, and he freed the Hebrew people from slavery. Didn't stop him. Job lost his wealth, his family, his health, but he persevered. He kept trusting God, and he regained it all back. And Peter was a very slow learner. He was rash, he was hasty, often put his foot in his mouth. But Jesus recognized his strengths as well as his faults. And he chose him to lead the disciples. And in Matthew 16:18, Jesus said, "And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it." So why Peter? Why was Peter chosen? Why was he called the rock? Because of his faith. Chris is back. Because of his faith, because of his loyalty, because of his love. He didn't always do his best, did he? But he did the best he could. Within us, underneath this great big ego of ours, is that rock, is that faith, is that place that when we touch it and when we remember to go there, then we remember to be the best we can in the moment. What reason does your ego, because it's your ego, give you for not doing your best in any given moment? See, as we talk a lot about the ego, as we start to observe, be that witness, be that observer, we can catch it. We can see the difference between, wait a minute, this isn't my spiritual self doing this. This is that noisy little ego up here. We are created in the image of God. That energy being. I saw, oh, well, I'm going way off here. On YouTube, I saw this thing where some techies put a electronic box. Some of you may have said it, and I'm probably not explaining it right. This electronic box, and they hooked it up to increase the voltage on it, and they put, looked like salt or something on it. And as they put the voltage up on it, you could actually see the energy patterns changing. And so there were very few patterns at a lower energy, and as it went up, these patterns became more and more intricate, and they continued to connect. So when we talk about being energy beings, and we talk about raising our consciousness, we talk about raising our vibration, what we're doing is raising that connection of energy. We talk about one consciousness. That's what we're talking about. When we do our best in the moment, then our energy is at its highest. And just like Mala, our light shines. You know when you're with someone and they are so not an ego. They're so 100% connected to their spiritual being in them. And you like being around them. You feel it, and it makes you feel good. When we're in that place, our life can be a reflection of God's good. That's where we make the difference from. As I spent a lot of time researching Mala's story, and as I did, I found no ego in this child at all. I only found her desire to make a difference in the education of girls. When we can overcome those shortcomings that our ego tells us we have, that's when we make the difference. Einstein failed mathematics. Beethoven's violin teacher told him that he was hopeless as a composer. And Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lack of ideas. So don't listen to what anyone out here says. I have to remember to always go within and connect to the essence of my spiritual being inside of me. That's where my power is. If I get caught in my ego's fears and limitations, I disconnect from my source of power. And I forget. I forget that every single thing that happens in my life, no exceptions, and that's why I used Mala's story, is an opportunity for my soul to grow. Everything. A lighter story. This is about a Unity minister here in Florida. And she shared this, she actually did a Sunday talk on it, and it's okay to share, and I'm not using names. But a congregant went up to her one day, a good Unity student, and she shared with her that her daughter was in the 3rd grade. And she always got good grades, but she was really having a time with the FCATs. She could only get in the 80 percentile. And her mother said to her, "Why is it you think you're stuck with 80%? You know the material. You get great grades on all your other tests." And the 3rd-year-old little girl, 3rd grade little girl said, "I just don't think it's possible to get 100%. No one ever does." And Mom, now you can tell this is a Unity mom. There you go. If you don't think you can get 100%, then of course you can't. We teach that, don't we? And now she knew her daughter was very competitive, so she decided to put a little challenge in there. And she said, "What do you think you might do to change the way you think about FCATs that would let you be the first in your class to get 100%? Smart mom. And his daughter said, "I don't know, but I'll think about it." And so she evidently did. She put some thought in it. Because, and even though it didn't happen at once, she got a few more 80s. Then one day she got a 90. Then she got a few more 90s. Then she got 100, and then she was getting 100 all the time. And her mom sat her down and says, okay, smarty pants. What did you do to convince yourself to get 100%? And this little third grader said, I began writing 100% on the top of my test paper before I even took the test. And then she visualized the teacher writing 100% next to hers. She said, I taught my best friend to do it. Now my best friend is getting 100%. So she wasn't doing her best. Why? Because she didn't think she could. And when she applied herself, it changed that, and then it changed her friends. And I wonder how many other kids in that class started getting 100%. In Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh wrote, your soul does not care what you are doing. Your soul does not care what you are doing. Your soul cares only about what you are being. Am I being the best I can be in this moment? Incorporating these 4 agreements takes practice. But the good news is, as we practice the first 3, our best keeps getting better. Our awareness grows, and we notice sooner when we're not impeccable with our word. I notice sooner when I'm taking something personally, when I'm making assumptions, and when I'm not doing my best. So this week, are you ready to make a difference? Are you ready to make a difference? Let me hear you. Okay. So if whatever happens that challenges you, whatever comes up for you, you're going to take that deep breath. Remember, just take that breath and say to yourself, in this moment, I am going to be the best I can be. In this moment, I am going to be the best I can be. So we've got something to help you remember that. Where are my pastors outer? You're each getting, can I see the stickers? You're each getting a bookmark with the 4 agreements on it so you can remember them. And then you're getting 100% stickers. So next week, Chris is probably going to wear his on his head. But go around and put these where you need a reminder, places where you want to remember. And Renee's got hers on her head. And I'd love to hear some stories. I'd love to hear you share how that works. Did anything come up for anyone? Know exactly where you're going to work on first? Have a great week. God bless you. And now get out there and do your best.